everybody, this is Diane. Hello and welcome to Biters.
And this is Marnell, and I am so over podcasting 2 episodes at once.
I am too. It's exhausting.
We've got 9 more weeks of this.
Oh, God.
So buckle up.
I do just want to say that our being here together tonight begs the question, every family's got something, right?
Some more than others.
Grin girl, I love you.
I love you too. I was flipping off the mic.
Oh, that's so funny. Yeah, they're pretty free with their fingers and with certain swear words on a young adult show.
Yes, they are.
It's like, dang, they're more X-rated than Biters.
I know, like I can't even say some of the stuff that they say on our podcast.
I think we're kind of finally at a point where we could, and Rob would just say, let me know so I can relabel the show explicit. But his concern in the past has been that it limits the audience.
Right.
So, I don't know. We'll have to see. We'll have to see what we do with The Real Housewives.
Which we've recorded episode 1.
Right. But that we're saving for Housewives Housekeeping.
Okay.
All right. So we are here tonight to, again, talk about Fear and the World Beyond. And I think we're going to do it kind of like we did last time. So I've got a few numbers. Then we'll do featured cast. We'll do Whisper's Corner, Housewives, and then go into each episode.
Okay.
Okay. So the Fear premiere had 1.59 million views, which I have to say I was really disappointed by how low that was. And then I thought, well, that's what they get for having such an awful season last season.
Yeah.
And then Blaze of Glory was 1.04 million views.
Wow.
And I did confirm, again, it was Blaze of Gory, not Blaze of Glory.
Right.
And funny enough, their premiere was 1.6 million views, so their premiere was actually just slightly better than the premiere for Fear this season.
Well, and the premiere for World Beyond happened after the quote-unquote season finale.
That's fair. That's a good point.
Dead. So, yeah.
That's a very good point. All right, so we're all discombobulated, so do we want to just go ahead and go into our featured cast first?
Sure.
But wait, I do have to say, the next episode of Fear, did you see what the name for the next episode of Fear is?
Alaska.
I know, right?
I'm like, they can't be going to Alaska. That's got to be some sort of code name.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
All right, now, sorry. Okay. Go ahead.
Here's another theory. So we saw Virginia and her little sister Dakota. So, like, do they have a brother named Alaska?
Oh my God, that would be horrible and hilarious. And I think you just nailed it on the head. Oh my God, that is so funny. I totally didn't even think about that. Ugh! Just makes me hate Ginny that much more.
Their parents, like the parents who name their kids after states, like it's fine, like Virginia or Dakota, but like you have 2 kids and you name them both after states. Really? Okay, whatever.
Maybe the only reading material was, I don't know, an atlas.
They just threw darts at a map. Your name was almost Halifax. Okay. Featured cast member is actually from World Beyond. And he was kind of the main cast member of the episode, I think.
I think so too.
Because we kind of got a little bit of his backstory, but not nearly enough. So Hal Cumpston plays Silas.
And I was shocked to learn that he is from Australia.
Why are we shocked by it? Like, I was too, but I'm like, of course he's from Australia. Like, half the cast is from Australia. Like, a quarter of the cast is from England, and then the rest are, maybe American, maybe Canadian. But he does have a very good American accent.
He does, and that's why I said I was surprised by that.
Yes, yes. And he is definitely a good actor because the all the interviews that I watched with him and his Instagram, he is completely the antithesis of his his show counterpart Silas. He is super funny, super relaxed. He wrote, directed, and produced a movie in Australia that's gotten a ton of critical acclaim. It's
I
called,
saw that.
yeah, so it's
It's
called
called.
Bilged.
And what does that mean?
So the title is a made-up term meaning a crazy, spontaneous, life-altering adventure that defies logic.
Oh my God, we
Well,
so need one of those right about now.
right? You and I need to go on an ayahuasca trip or something. America. Um, so Cumston actually wrote Bilged when he was 18. The film won a Grand Prix award for Best Film and Screenplay at the 2019 Chelsea Film Festival in New York. One of the other actors also got Best Actor or Best Supporting Actor for it. Um, so his dad is kind of involved in the TV industry in Sydney, so I kind of think that's where he got it, where he kind of gets his love of acting, because he said, immediately after school, I knew I just wanted to be an actor. There's really not a lot out there on him right now because he is just absolutely so new to the
What
acting
is he? Is he
scene.
like 19, maybe 20 now?
So he graduated, they call it schoolies in Australia.
Oh my God, that's so
Um,
funny. I didn't know that.
they mention schoolies all over, and they do complete a 12th grade. And so he graduated at 18 in 2017. So 3 years. He's about 21 now. Um, so yeah, there's really not a lot out there. I mean, I couldn't even find a birth date for him.
Does he have any social media?
He has an Instagram, just an Instagram. And he started it right around the time that he was announced
On World Beyond.
World Beyond.
That makes
So
sense.
there's really not a lot on it at all. He has an abandoned Twitter account if it was ever him. I can't imagine that there's another Cumston out there. But he only follows 3 people. He has like 100 and some odd that is following, and he's never tweeted on it, even though it was open in 2017. So yeah. So there's really just not a lot out there on the guy because he's just so new. But
Those young whippersnappers leaving us for Instagram. Did you look for him on TikTok?
I did not look at TikTok. So it really wouldn't surprise me to find that he has a TikTok, probably kind of not under he probably has a screen name. I find even Will Smith has a weird screen name on TikTok. But so the movie that he wrote, produced, and directed, Bilged, is kind of like the Australian version of the movie Superbad. If that gives anyone any idea, you probably never saw Superbad.
No, I'm lame.
Well, it's
Thanks for outing the old lady on the podcast.
I didn't particularly enjoy Superbad. It was a little after my time. But I watched the trailer for Bilged, and it looks hysterical. And I looked everywhere for a place to watch it, and it has not been released in that widely yet. It's still playing at film festivals.
Oh, that's kind of cool.
Yeah, but
I mean, it's not cool that we can't see it, but it's cool
Right.
that it's still getting, that it's got more traction.
Yeah, and I really wish that I could watch it now, even if it was. So what a lot of smaller independent theaters are doing, like our Gold Town Nickelodeon here, is you can kind of buy a pass to watch a movie and online, basically you watch it at home because none of our theaters are really open. They kind of are, but not really. So I kind of wish I could I would even pay to watch it because it just looks so funny, and it's gonna drop off my radar by the time it actually gets wide release. So darn it.
Oh, you never know. You just never know. We don't know where Silas is going.
No, and we don't really know much about where he's been. You kind of got a few flashes, but yeah, there's really not a lot out there with Hal. But like I said, the interviews that I did watch with him, he is very, very funny. He actually he did in high school. He won a state award the final year of his drama performance for stand-up comedy. He earned a finalist position in the Australian class clown competition. So he's also dabbled in stand-up comedy. Like, he's completely not Silas in real life, which makes him an amazing actor because he plays Silas so well on the show. Like,
he's definitely got some creep factor going on.
I don't think he's creepy. Like, seriously, like.
All right, we'll talk more about that when we talk about The World Beyond.
Sometimes when I look at him, I just want to cry.
Oh.
And I'm cold and dead inside.
You are cold and dead inside.
All right. Did you have anything for Hal?
I didn't. Nothing that you didn't have. I mean, you did way more than I did. I just kind of looked at his IMDb and went, he's got 2 credits, Bilched and The World Beyond. Okay.
Yeah, like the first 4 or 5 articles on Google about him literally are copy paste of, like, it says the exact same thing
about World Beyond, basically.
About Hal.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I mean, just in terms of, and now he's been signed for World Beyond.
Right. It had all the same stuff about Bilched and all the same stuff about, his awards and things like that, and then World Beyond. So, yeah, I mean, it was literally copy paste the first 4 articles. So, there's really not a lot out there, but he's got a very, very good jump start.
Oh, definitely. And I agree. I think he's I don't really have any beef about any of the actors or actresses on World Beyond. I'm kind of in and out of wanting to know more about Huck and not being all that excited about the character, but I really don't have any beef about the actors and actresses. I'm kind of enjoying them, actually.
And I'm still really down on the character Huck, but the woman who plays her they did a trivia competition with all of the cast about the Walking Dead universe, and she is very nice and very funny in real life. Like, she is also nothing like her character. So I just believe that everyone's a really great actor and actress, and it's possible that it's intended that she is the way she is on the show, or maybe it was just written poorly. I don't know, but Huck is just grating on me. So we'll get into it.
I think we will get into it because I think I'm going to have a lot more to say about World Beyond than Fear, which means we're probably going to go for hours and hours and hours, considering how long we podcasted on Saturday.
Right.
So there was not a ton for Whisperer's Corner. There were basically 2 Forbes articles that I ran across. I did not do a deep dive to see if there was more. Eric Kane did a review of Fear, and he actually liked this episode. He said this week wasn't as good as last week, but it was still a vast improvement over season 5. But to be fair, he did not like season 4 at all.
Right.
So, he says that it still is suffering from some sloppy writing and directing, and he really feels like this series could use someone just to be the quality control person over the scripts. And I really saw a couple of things that he was talking about when when I rewatched Fear, and I'm going to say them now just because I don't want to forget them in Rotting Potpourri, and they're not my ideas, they're his. I was just like, yeah, I agree. One was that there's just no effort being made to develop the smaller characters. You know, I mean, the Rangers just, you don't care about them. You don't care about who they are. They're kind of cardboard cutouts.
Yeah. There's no dimension to the bad guys at all right now.
None. And well, except the bad guy who got killed in the premiere.
Yeah. The one we wanted to stick around.
Right. And then he also pointed out, and I thought, oh man, that is huge. He was like, giant continuity error. The molasses was so thick that it was oozing out of the place where the walkers were, and they were coated in it. And then when our heroes opened up the place that they were in, the floor was totally clean.
Like the floor inside?
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't notice that. I was like, that dude was sitting there scrubbing the floor in front of it.
Oh,
but,
no. The floor inside is like so clean that you can see where the pavement breaks off and like the crumbly, gravelly stuff where the concrete is breaking down. Yeah.
I'd like to say that I would go rewatch to catch that, but I'm not gonna trust him.
No, I think you can trust Eric Kane on this one.
Yeah.
And then Paul Tassi wrote about the world beyond, and he said, you know, he's kind of not really sure where he has landed just in terms of the series overall. He would say that it's mostly fine. Which, I mean, I kind of agree. I liked this episode better than I liked last episode.
That's such a great review. Mostly fine.
Mostly fine. And the thing that was interesting about his article is that he talked about how he finds the whole world building aspect of World Beyond to be the more interesting thing about it. That we get this confirmation that, in fact, CRM or the Civic Republic is like this huge population center.
Right.
And he's like, you know, I find it kind of hard to believe because all we've run into are these little scraggly bands like our dudes and the Saviors and, you know, what they call them, the Claimers. He's like, I kind of find it hard to believe that there's this huge burgeoning community of 200,000 people, but here we go.
Yeah. I mean, but the U.S. is enormous. So I can imagine that after 10 years, there would be some people that gravitate to population centers that have resources that you would need, you know, fresh water, infrastructure, things like that. So I kind of have to believe after 10 years that some people would have gotten their act together. I think it's a little hard to believe that there's, you know, a population center of 200,000. But yeah, and there's these other smaller population centers. I forget how large our community said they were. Was it 6,000 or like 10,000? Somewhere in there. That seems more doable, you know.
You're talking about the community that was in fact purged.
Right. Yes.
Yeah, I can't remember how big they said they were.
Yeah, but I mean, it was 10,000 or under.
Yeah. And
that's completely believable after 10 years in the zombie apocalypse.
Well, you know, by comparison, and Tassi pointed this out in his article, and I remember this from the comic books, they said the Commonwealth was around 50,000 people. So the Civic Republic is even bigger than the Commonwealth. Right.
And they even have manufacturing. They have, you know, natural gas. Yeah, like they have television. They are doing television broadcasts because when she turned on the TV, that wasn't a pre-recorded show that she was watching. That was broadcast. So, and it was Mr. Wizard.
You would know that. That is hilarious. Oh my God.
I used to watch him.
I vaguely remember him, but I would not have been able to pick that out of the show. That is really funny. All right. Another article I ran across. Gimple is now a comic book creator.
Really?
So he is co-authoring a comic book with Robert Kirkman called Die, Die, Die!
Is it about 2020?
You know, considering that we had a tsunami warning in Alaska today, and I just found out that Jeff Bridges got diagnosed with lymphoma, yes, I'm convinced it's about 2020.
Right? Of course, on Alaska Day, which is what today is in Alaska, Monday, Alaska Day, we have a 7.5 earthquake. Luckily, it was way the F out in the Aleutians, where there is very, very few people. And if
but there are still people, to be fair.
There are still people. But it's not like they have like tall buildings or anything that are going to topple down on them. I think all of them are, smaller houses. So I haven't heard anything about damages or injuries or anything like that. But,
and I have not heard any more about an actual tsunami. I just heard about the tsunami warning.
Right. There was a possible 30-meter tsunami that was headed out. Of course, it's would have hit Alaska places in Alaska fairly early, and then like 6 hours later, Hawaii and so on and so forth. So, yeah, that's kind of scary.
Yeah. So die, die, die.
Die, die, die. Yep.
The only thing in that article otherwise that I thought was really interesting about Gimple is that he talked a little bit about where they're going with the Walking Dead universe and talked about the spin-off series. And apparently they are also discussing possibly doing some mini-series events.
Okay. So we were talking before the podcast, and I don't know how I missed this or if I blocked it out.
I think you blocked it out.
Brain fog or whatever. But I don't think that I was shocked to learn tonight or relearn that World Beyond is only going to be 2 seasons.
Sorry, that was the Kong.
So, this whole we're having to kind of reboot Fear the Walking Dead, and we're trying to save it, and we're trying to make it better, and all this. It's like, you know what? Why?
But are we?
Why not just end it? I mean, we are ending the main show. The one of the spinoff shows is only getting 2 seasons. We have 2 more shows coming up. Why not just end Fear? I mean, not that I want Fear to end, not that I want to stop seeing all the actors and actresses that I like, but I kind of don't get the logic behind it all. They have seems to have zero attachment to a show that just started. They're like, nope, 2 and done. And they're ending a very long running show. So I don't get why they're still pouring effort into Fear. I don't know. I don't know.
I am struggling so hard. I haven't really thought about that, but when I listen to you talk about that, I'm struggling so hard because once again, I see this great cast.
Right.
And
there's so much potential there.
And I'm feeling like I got badly fooled by the premiere tonight.
See, and I'm okay with tonight. Tonight, I have some griping to do, but I probably rated it higher than you did.
Oh, I suspect you probably did.
Yeah.
Okay, there was also a pretty good article on the Insider about theories about who the man in the iron mask is. So I'm going to run through them. Hang in there with me. One is Madison. And the author, right? And the author of the article was like, no, Maggie very clearly said him. Maggie very clearly said he is with me.
Yeah.
One is Morgan. And the author was like, well, the current season of Fear is several years behind the main series. It is possible that this could be how Morgan rejoins. So they kind of threw that out there. Angela Kang confirmed it was not Mercer, the character from the Commonwealth. There's still some argument that it could be Heath, but they're saying no because Angela Kang confirmed that he was taken by CRM. They mentioned 2 characters that I barely remember, both from Hilltop, Eduardo and Cal. Apparently they were both guards, and like one of them was a guard that really was pretty actively guarding Maggie. But they were like, why would he hide?
Yeah. Why cover your face?
Another one was Herschel, like young Herschel. And then it was like, no. Timeline's totally off. The kid's 10.
Yeah.
Another one was Felix from World Beyond. But again, the timeline is totally off because they're like 10 years from the start of the ZA.
Yeah.
Although that's about where we are in the main series right now.
Yeah, give or take, So if it's not Felix, could it be his boyfriend, William?
I don't know, maybe.
So, I mean, it's not Morgan. Like, for me, it's obviously not Morgan. So Morgan, he's, kind of getting up there in years. He's still very spry for
that's
a
brutal.
man.
Hey, you're saying that to your older sister. Be careful there.
Now he has a severe shoulder injury. So I don't think he's wielding around those
he is apparently completely recovered from the shoulder injury. Did you see him tonight?
Yeah, kind of. I mean, he did behead the other guy with his
one
good
arm. Yeah.
So.
Okay, another suggestion was Dwayne, Morgan's son, and it was like, no. He confirmed in clear that Dwayne died.
Yeah.
And it would really suck to go back and find out that he lied in clear about Dwayne's fate.
Yeah.
Another one was a suggestion that maybe they created a replacement for Dante because Dante was the love interest for Maggie in the comic books after Glenn died.
Okay.
And then another one is someone completely new. I'm going with someone completely new.
Someone completely new. Yeah, because all of the other options that were thrown out there are just like, no.
So apparently there is a recording of a table read of one of the scripts of, I don't know, should we call it season 10C?
I did see that.
Did you watch it?
I didn't watch it. I watched the commercial for it that had, the like the Brady Bunch Zoom squares,
Right.
And they were reading some of the lines, so I
so
didn't realize it was out yet.
Mentioned a character. I didn't watch it. I meant to watch it, and I ended up going off to town and doing other things. Seeing my chiropractor because I'm old.
Getting the dogs Kongs,
so they would shut up. Apparently, she mentioned someone named Elijah, so they're thinking maybe Elijah is the man in the iron mask.
Okay.
And then the only other thing that I had in Whisperer's Corner is that apparently in the table read that they show, Maggie's pretty much like, nah, so Negan's out. I'm not excited about it, but I kind of get why Carol did what she did. Right?
Yeah. I mean, I guess, how long has Maggie been away from our group?
Well, so did she go away before the time jump where we saw Judith go from a little kid to a 10-year-old?
Yeah, I think we did.
So she's been gone for basically 6 years, 5-6 years.
That's a lot of time to be. I mean, that's a lot of time to be able to process your hate and anger.
He beat her husband's head in with a baseball bat. He beat him so hard his eye popped out.
There are some people that are super forgiving to the people who murder their, every family's got something.
Oh my God. All right. Okay.
I mean, I don't know if I could forgive him in 6 years or less. Like, I don't know if I could forgive him in a lifetime watching that. Like, especially while I was like actively kind of losing my child that I'm pregnant with, although she didn't, but
but we didn't know that at the time.
Yeah. So I don't know if I could forgive him, but maybe.
All I can say is that if he beat my husband's head in so hard that his eye popped out, I could probably forgive him at this point. God, I'm a horrible person.
Yeah, every family's got something.
Which leads us right into the only thing I have for Housewives housekeeping, which is The Real Housewives of Alaska is finally going to launch.
Yes, we've recorded episode 1.
We did. So we recorded
which was a blast.
It was hilarious. And Marnell and I are now completely fangirling the Temple of Satan.
The Satanic Temple.
The Satanic Temple. See, I did it too.
Yep.
TST, the Satanic Temple.
Yeah, I keep calling it the Church of Satan, but it's not. It's completely different from the Church of Satan. Yes, and TST does not actually worship the devil. Like,
oh God, you had to spoil it.
Oh,
Spoiler!
It's such a good documentary. Go Hulu and Amazon Prime $2.99. Hulu, of course, for free if you have Hulu. Amazon Prime for $2.99. Go watch Hail Satan ?
Yes. And follow Lucian Greaves on Twitter.
Yes. Yep. Super, super fun.
Yep.
You might be surprised that you agree with the Satanic Temple.
Mm-hmm. And our merch is on its way. So in terms of updating when The Real Housewives is going to drop, Rob is trying to get our feed up and running. As soon as he gets the feed up and running, I'll be able to post it. For some reason, the podcast host that we're using, he isn't able to get it to cooperate and load a new feed tonight, so he's going to try again tomorrow. Always tech.
Yep.
Like, Libsyn, why you gotta be like that? All right, you said you wanted to talk about fear first, right?
I don't think I said it. You probably just read my mind.
I'm pretty sure I asked you, and I'm pretty sure you said it.
See? Like, I seriously have brain fog.
2020.
Yeah, and other.
I'm afraid to ask.
Oh, well, so total TMI for the listeners, but the youngest housewife is the one who gets to go through menopause first.
Total TMI, and you'll have to update me after the podcast as to whether or not you have any more medical information that you want to share with your big sister.
Not at the time. Not at the moment. I haven't got any test results back or anything.
All right.
But yeah, so about 11 years ahead of normal schedule for women. So I'm one of the lucky 5%. I get to do it at 40.
Yeah, that is TMI.
Well, I mean, it explains so much. I have been dealing with joint pain and brain fog and hot flashes and things like that, where it's like, no, I'm 40. That's not happening, but it's happening. So that's what I'm blaming my brain fog on is, yeah, I get to go through the change.
It could just be the residual effects of your COVID infection.
I didn't have COVID.
I know, I'm being snarky.
Okay.
I'm going to be the one who gets COVID first.
Right? I think the majority of us are going to get it at some point before we get any sort of vaccination, herd immunity, before it dies out. Yeah.
So they figure 60 to 70% of people have to have some form of immunity, whether it's from a vaccine or from getting the disease, for us to have some sort of herd immunity. I heard an estimate today that between 6 and 10% of the U.S. population has been infected so far.
That we know of.
So we are a long ways away from herd immunity.
Oh, yeah. So that's why I'm saying, most of us are going to get it at some point,
All right, let's talk about a different kind of fear.
A different sort of infection.
All right, Fear the Walking Dead, Season 6, Episode 2, Welcome to the Club. So which is what the ranger says to Strand at the end of the episode.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think the title is pretty obvious.
Yeah, I didn't really have anything to add.
No.
Do you want to share your rating first, or do you want me to share mine?
I'll give you mine, since I probably rated it the higher of the two. 3.85 Little Sisters.
All right, yes, you did rate it way higher. So I was going to rate it 2.9, And then I decided that actually rating it a 3.1 fake turds out of 5 was a little more insulting than a 2.9. Just because the 0.1 seems more insulting than the 0.9.
And of course, the fake turd you're referring to is the bucket that Strand chucked at the ranger.
Okay, let me tell you, as a person who's seen and dealt with a lot of human feces and a lot of dog feces, those were ridiculous. They weren't even a good fake plastic dog turd.
That's funny. And that was not assault, by the way.
Oh.
Like, it hit his boot. If it hit him in the head, then you can call it assault. But he chucked it at his boot.
Ginny plays by different rules.
Well, I just think they were racially profiling Strand.
That is terrible.
It's true, though. All right.
So I've got writer and director. I'm going to completely slaughter our writer's last name. First name is Nazrin. Last name is Chudri. I don't speak Hindi, so I'm sorry. Interestingly enough, this writer has written on Blood and Treasure, which is something that the writers of this week's World Beyond have also been heavily involved with. So I was like, that's kind of weird. And they didn't plan on these episodes to air together. So interesting tie-in, not necessarily, kind of coincidental that they ended up airing on the same night.
Yeah.
The writer has only written this one thing in the Walking Dead universe, but apparently has written for this ongoing British soap called EastEnders. Are you familiar with it? Because I have a feeling we've talked about it before.
We have. So I have never watched it, but I swear to you, everyone with a British accent that does anything on television has been on that show. It's like their Law and Order.
Okay, because I started looking through the cast list thinking maybe there was somebody that we talked about who's been on it, and it's got like 1,600 episodes, and I thought, no.
Yes. So, I mean, long running soap opera in the UK. So I think that a lot of our UK actors and actresses kind of maybe not really got their start or their feet wet on EastEnders, but definitely,
certainly earned a few pounds, a few euros. Right. Yes.
Right. Had a few lines on the show, therefore it is on their IMDb.
Yes. All right. Our director was the incomparable Lenny James. And all I can say is it is so unfair that he had such a shite script to direct. You can't disagree, can you?
There was nothing great about the episode, but there was nothing terrible about the episode.
I thought the episode was pretty terrible, but I'll let you have that there was nothing great about the episode. And that said, let's go into our goods, bads, and uglies.
You want me to go first?
Sure.
All right. So, you just commented on the terrible writing. However, there is one scene that I liked so much that I wrote down the entire scene. And it was the scene between Strand and Alicia at the very end.
That was horrible. That was one of the things that I wrote down as an example of the awful writing.
Oh see, I liked it.
I thought it was awful. That was literally when I wrote, the script is shite.
I loved that he admitted to her that she hasn't seen everything that he's done.
Oh.
After watching him pull a Shane, which was shocking to me.
She didn't see him pull a Shane, though.
No, she didn't.
Right.
She didn't, and that's what he was referring to as among other things. Strand started out, this character where you knew he couldn't be trusted. Like when he was in the cages with Nick, and he was always going to get something. You thought he was a great guy for trading his gold watch or whatever for medicine for Nick or something.
No, he was totally a snake oil salesman then, but he was so compelling.
Yes.
He was so much more compelling than this broken character that we had tonight.
Yeah, but he's much better now than when he was in that house drinking the wine cellar.
I liked him better when he was drinking the wine cellar. When he was talking, when he and Alicia were having that back and forth by the pickup truck, I was like, okay, first of all, who has that much gas in the zombie apocalypse this far in? And secondly, this is a terrible scene.
Well, they were creating their own gas.
Yes, they were. I know.
Yeah. Okay. But I just he's evolved so much from the season 1, and some people don't like his evolution from season 1, but it is what it is. He has done a lot of things that he doesn't like to think about, but it's made him who he is now, and he's a lot more selfless than he was. So I don't know. That was my good.
That was your good. That's so funny.
There are some.
Did we watch the same show?
Yeah, there are some times where we are just not on the same page.
Right. Okay, well, we may be on the same page about my good, which is the casting that they did for the kid who plays Dakota. They could not have picked someone who looks more like Ginny.
Right? I mean,
they did an excellent job casting that kid.
Yeah. When she first showed up on screen and she was telling the Rangers to leave him alone, I was like, that is obviously Ginny's little sister.
Right.
Who else could it be?
Now, who will Alaska favor? Will Alaska look more like Dakota or Virginia? So that was my good. It was a very small good, but I will give them props. It was a good piece of casting. And the kid was funny. I liked her. She was a good little actress.
Yeah.
Wow, that's kind of condescending. I'm sorry that came out badly. But,
she doesn't like Ginny. She wants to get away from Ginny. So.
I don't know. That's going to take us into my bad. So why don't you tell your bad first and then we'll talk about mine.
All right. So the weapon. What we were going after in this, rolled up garage door storage unit. I knew.
Did you really?
It was not going to be an actual weapon. I had this feeling that I'm like, what weapon could possibly be in this place that's stored with molasses that we can't shoot at?
But only enough molasses to ooze under the door, not any to actually cover the floor.
Right? There was a slope and the molasses containers were really close to the door.
I've got to tell you, as someone who's dealt with a lot of molasses in cooking and with horses, it's not that sticky.
Okay.
When Sanjay was like, the walkers, they just stick to you. You can't get away. I'm like...
No, they don't.
Yeah. No.
Yeah.
Okay, the weapon. Sorry. So your bad was the weapon being the...
team building exercise.
Yeah.
This was not a job. This was a job interview.
Although you did just bring up a really funny moment for me, not in the series because I didn't think the series did the book justice, but in Good Omens, there's a really funny part of the book where there is a great team building exercise. I'll just put that out there.
I didn't know that was what this was going to be, but I knew there was not any sort of weapon in there. I didn't know what it was, but I knew there was no weapon. And I was like, really? This was just a job interview? Huh. That's kind of a waste of an episode, but whatever.
A waste of a director. A waste of some good characters, and I firmly believe the ruination of Strand. Yeah.
Okay. What was your bad?
All right. My bad was, after a couple of nice interactions with Dakota, Dakota suddenly becomes one of our people. I mean, Alicia actually uses the phrase "our people," and I'm like, okay, this is before she killed the walkers that were on Charlie, which I have issues with that.
I do too.
And I'm like, really, Alicia, you are gonna trust someone from Ginny's camp that easily? All of a sudden, after 2 little nice interactions, she's our people.
Yeah.
She's Ginny's little sister.
Yeah. And trust me, the little sister is the diabolical one. Like...
You are 100% right.
Oh, man. Yeah. I wholeheartedly agree that, like, 2 minor interactions and, you know, all of a sudden we're sharing our secrets with her. No, that's a really bad idea.
Not only that, but she's an adolescent girl. Come on. I've been a school nurse. I know how trustworthy adolescent girls are. I was an adolescent girl. I still am in many ways.
I'm not.
Oh, back to that TMI thing again. All right, what was your ugly?
So my ugly is the new Salazar storyline. Why didn't he bring Strand and Alicia in on the ruse, but he was totally up for bringing Morgan in? I mean, he didn't even admit it to Charlie. He's a really good play dumb actor.
Right. Which I was really mad about that too, because I was like, that's a waste of a great actor.
But he was just insistent that, you know, he has some sort of selective amnesia.
So I don't know if it was from the headshot from Victor. No, it couldn't have been, because that was like way back in season 3.
Well, Jenny said that he had some feelings over Skidmark.
Right, and they had to take him down, so they must have like beaten him or something like that.
Yeah, and he had that like horseshoe shaped, upside down horseshoe shaped scar on his head. That
I just assumed that was the gunshot that Victor was talking about, though.
Oh, maybe.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, he's taken a blow to the head, and so he is convincingly having, you know, playing that he has amnesia. But like Morgan steps on the scene and he's like, "Hey, how you doing, buddy?"
All right, and so here's the other thing, and this plays to the reference to sloppy writing that Eric Kane made. I don't get it. I mean, you're right. He plays amnesia or even dementia with 3 characters that he has known and been either very adversarial with or very close to. And we don't even know that Morgan's going to show up. And then all of a sudden he's whistling the Traveling Wilburys song, and he hears someone whistle back and he's like, wait. Oh, I forgot my scissors.
Yeah.
It just was, I don't know, it was kind of ridiculous and convenient and not well explained, and I agree with you. Why would he lie to 3 characters that he's known for a long time and then all of a sudden be like, I hear someone whistling in the distance. It must be someone that I need to know.
I mean, maybe if he knows that Jenny has somebody spying on him, but even then, all he had to do was look at Strand and wink, you know?
Right.
I'm at a loss for the larger plan, and I'm sure we'll get to it, but yeah, it was weird.
I agree.
So, that was my ugly.
Well, my ugly was definitely a Marnell ugly. It was like a good and a bad, and I'm not sure how to feel about it, but it was totally Victor Otising Sanjay. Totally. And Thomas O'Mara, by the way, rated this 4.5 Otises out of 5.
Yeah, I literally wrote down that Strand pulled a Shane.
Yeah. You know, God, it was brutal. It was totally revealing of how selfish and self-absorbed and terrible Strand still is. But at the same time, he did that, but he seemed so broken when he was talking to Alicia. I don't understand this new Strand, and I don't like it.
I don't either.
0 stars, very bad, do not recommend.
So when he stabbed Sanjay in the leg, like, for one, That was such a minor little. I don't really know anatomy. Maybe you can elaborate on this.
No. He probably got him in the femoral artery.
But like, would it inhibit him from walking?
So it should have bled a lot more. It wouldn't inhibit him from walking. I mean, look, Daryl survived a femoral artery perforation last season. So
it's not like he cut a tendon or any. That was just a puncture wound to the thigh.
I mean, to be fair, Sanjay was kind of a wimpy dude. So, I mean, he's obviously not going to muscle through a major arterial injury the way Daryl's going to.
Yeah, but I mean, that adrenaline rush of zombies coming at you, I don't know. But so the other thing was, I can't believe Strand just kind of stood there and watched. Like, if I pulled a Shane like that, I would get out of the area. Like, I would not want to hear it. I would not want to see it. Like, that's just haunting.
But that was kind of in keeping with the Strand who was, like, dealing his cufflinks for something back in season 1.
Right.
That's much more in keeping with that kind of dark Strand, that evil streak in Strand that I really have always kind of liked.
Yeah.
So that's why I have such mixed feelings, actually, about him Otising Sanjay. Because,
Well, and, yeah, like, not to mention that Sanjay was just kind of dead weight.
And eventually he was, completely.
Right? He never reanimated, though. Like, I was very surprised that Aisha and Charlie... Like,
Good eye.
They hit all of the walkers that were standing up, but it didn't seem like the ones that were down devouring Sanjay and Sanjay himself. Like, it didn't seem like any of them got a headshot, so...
And he was definitely intact enough when they flashed on the body to reanimate.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good point.
Yep. So, I don't know. Maybe he did 5 minutes after they left.
All right. So that puts us in Rotting Potpourri. And the first thing that I want to say is I completely visualized Ian Goldberg and Andrew Chambliss in the writer's room going, yeah, molasses. Totally like having a Beavis and Butthead moment. Ugh. I'm looking at you, Steve. I'm looking at you.
I did not get Beavis and Butthead out of anything on this episode.
Yeah, molasses.
Oh, please, Phil, cut that out and make that Diane soundbite.
Only if he puts the thing about your TMI as your soundbite.
That's absolutely fine. Oh, so the episode starts out, and I could not help but think of Negan. People are a resource.
I thought a little bit about the saviors as well, especially because Ginny is saying when she's talking about Daniel in front of Daniel, well, he's lucky he can still contribute because otherwise he would be, what'd she call him? Cadaver chum?
Cadaver chum,
yeah.
So yeah, I mean the jumpsuits where they don't even have a name, they have a number.
I was waiting to see an A on somebody's jumpsuit.
Right. And that they have a functioning prison camp for people where, they do labor and they are also used for dangerous tasks that, will probably get them killed.
Very much like the saviors.
Yeah, so rather than just killing someone for breaking the law or running away or whatever, they use them. So, that was very saviory to me.
So I will say a nod to Aim for the Head. Diana pointed out that the number on Strand's jumpsuit was to honor Kobe Bryant.
Aww.
Because his number was 24, and that was the number that was on the back of Strand's jumpsuit.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Huh.
So I really loved that this season, that the opening credits did in fact change. So this time we saw Strand standing there with the bucket, and it was very obviously Strand before we even saw him.
So I guess the theme for this season is if the prominent featured character is going to be the one we see at the beginning.
Oh, yes, we'll have to see if that bears out because that sounds right so far.
Yeah. And, it looks like next episode we get a lot of the gang back together. So I'll be curious to see who, is featured on the credits next week.
In Alaska.
Alaska.
As Ginny was sitting there getting her hair cut, all I could think once again was, God, I still hate that character so much.
Oh, that's funny.
So, remind me, is Janice the chick who was in the house behind all of the landmines?
No, I don't think so. Janice was the chick on the other end of the radio, and they were trying to rescue her before the zombies got in.
Yeah, the house was behind all the landmines, and she couldn't get out.
No, it was like the last or second to last episode.
Are you sure?
No, I'm not.
Okay, someone who likes this series more than we do, Thomas O'Mara. Who is Janice?
Who's Dan?
All right. All I can say is that our crew continues to be haunted by those tapes because what does Dakota say to them? The same thing that the ranger from last week said to Morgan. Well, I saw your tapes.
Well, and she said her sister was obsessed with them. Yeah. We need to talk about the Charlie ponytail thing.
Okay, so first of all, Charlie has grown up a lot in the time between season 5 and season 6. She looks like a different kid. She's kind of aged the way Carl aged.
I was gonna say it took me an extra millisecond to actually recognize her.
Mm-hmm. And I just have to tell you, how did she not get bit?
Okay. That isn't even my problem.
It was the fact that the walker showed agency and reached out and grabbed her by the ponytail and pulled her in.
That is a beautiful way to put it. Because I could not eloquently say showed agency.
Well, it's a flashback to in season 1 when Frank Darabont was like, I want the walkers to be somewhat sentient. So here, I'm going to have this walker try to break this glass open with a rock. And then we got away from that. Yep. And I agree. I mean, that was completely the action of a sentient being to reach out and grab
her ponytail and pull her backwards.
Yes.
Yeah. Because walkers normally just kind of fall forward onto whatever they want to eat.
Right.
And so that could have been done and could have been way more believable, but to actually reach out and grab her ponytail. And I mean, in the beginning, I even wrote down, I don't think the walkers would have been pulled under the door. I'm sorry, not the walkers. The people would have been pulled under the door
by the walkers
that quickly.
Although that was a pretty classic horror movie. That was a pretty classic horror trope.
Yeah.
But
it was.
Yeah.
But it was a little too fast. I don't think the walkers pull that. I can see them pawing at the person and then slowly being dragged under.
Yes.
But that was horror movie, swept under the bed,
Stephen King-ish. Yeah.
Yeah.
That Poltergeist-ish.
I was just gonna say the puppet clown from Poltergeist.
Yes.
Yep. Yeah. So I had some big problems with the sentient walkers this episode.
Well, and I just have to say, I think that the walker budget got spent on World Beyond because the walkers in World Beyond were way better to look at, much more convincing than any of the walkers in this episode. These walkers were really sloppy. I'm like, boy, I know they can do better than that.
Well, and maybe if I were to go back and rewatch and Smalls a little just agreed. Closer. What's that?
Smalls just agreed.
If I were to go back and rewatch, I kind of looked for it on my second watch, but I didn't see it. Maybe some of the listeners did. I would have expected to see less rotted walkers, unless the walkers that were in there completely devoured the prisoners and rangers that they dragged in there. you know? So I would have expected to see some that didn't have rotting faces. They just had, you know, newly dead faces.
Right.
Unless they were completely devoured to the point that, you know, they were just torsos and heads, you know? So.
Which is possible.
It is. It is entirely possible. But then you would have had them kind of crawling around the floor of the storage unit.
Okay, another moment that was like totally hilarious and not good, just like not good. The way that Victor kind of jumped out of the RV. It was so funny. It was kind of like, ya da 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 da. Here's Victor. It was hilarious. Oh my God. Coleman Domingo like jumped kind of sideways and his body was just kind of funny. And the way that he landed was just kind of funny. And I was like, oh, could we not have done another take on that?
Right. That may have been a practice take. They were just like, leave it in, move on. We don't have enough time. We're burning daylight. So at the beginning when the Rangers pulled up and were like, move the barrels.
Right.
I'm sitting there thinking, move two actively burning metal barrels.
Yeah.
How?
Yeah. It would be bad enough to move 2 barrels full of feces, but yes, actively burning and full of feces. Not quite sure how that's going to happen.
Yeah, we're just going to pick this up and move it 50 feet over here. That's not happening. Like, that guy deserved to have a bucket full of poop thrown at his feet.
Even though they were fake.
Oh.
All right. Why does Ginny want an army? I don't think it's to fight the walkers. I think that, you know, maybe there's that community down in Galveston that the ranger from last week was doing some work for. I think she's like building up to go to war against another community.
So if I'm not mistaken, I remember last season she had a pretty dang big army already.
That is a really reasonable point.
The only thing I can think of is she wants some sort of covert strike team, you know, but because we see that the Rangers are not all that bright.
Yes, I would agree with you there.
But I mean, we were talking last season about where do you find like 300 horses and how do you feed and water them? Mm-hmm. Like, so I remember she had quite an army prior to this. So. And she thinks that because her sister was like, she needs this weapon to fight this new guy or whatever. She alluded to, you know, Morgan.
Right.
And
which is
I'm
just
like,
ridiculous.
Really? You're going to send Strand and Alicia and Charlie in to fight Morgan? I don't think that's going to happen.
Right.
Yeah. No.
The only other thing I have written down is what I've already said, which is, you know, what a waste of a promising character. What a waste of Victor Strand. I am so sorry to see that this is what we have come to.
I'm willing to give it a little rope.
You're willing to give it more rope than I am.
I am. But I mean, as we've seen in the past couple of seasons, it is quite possible that they're just going to hang themselves.
You know, God dang it. I still maintain, and I disagree with Eric Kane fervently here, season 4 was so promising. We got John, we got June, we had some really good episodes.
Yeah, the very first or second episode, or maybe, God, it's the one where they were they were totally a strike team. Like, they ambushed, what's her name on the road?
The filthy lady?
No. She has the MRAP.
Oh, Al.
Al, thank you. I was like, Amy, Alice, Andrea, Alaska.
That chick we haven't seen yet. Maybe next episode.
It looks like next episode. Okay, I have one other thing that I need to gripe about. Okay, first of all, the shoot and the crates, the pallets were excellent. Like I loved them building the chute and you know, having the funneling the walkers that way, bottlenecking them, and I love that they use the pallets as shields. However, I don't understand the reasoning behind bottlenecking them into the chute and then just having a couple of people just at the end of the chute. Why didn't you have open at all? Like, you could have just had them go into the pen basically and just stood on the sides and everyone stab them in the head.
So that was actually one of the points that Eric Kane made in his review, was there was a perfectly manageable way of dealing with the walkers, you know, with the way that the chute was designed.
Yeah. I mean, because, yes, the walkers would have fallen, you know, where they were, but then it would have taken more effort for the walkers to climb over the, you know, dead walkers. And, you know, it would have just kept piling up. Plus, the whole, like, where the door got stuck at, like, 2 feet or whatever. Why not just do that? Why not just have it open 2 feet? So, like, 3 walkers crawl out at a time. That's completely manageable. Like, I had a huge problem that, like, this was just this, like, total puzzle that nobody could figure out. So, that's all I gotta say.
But you're still going to give it a 3.8? 3.85.
Yep. Like I said, I really liked them building the chute, and I liked the pallets as shields. I don't know if maybe the prisoners didn't have, like, prisoners and rangers didn't have enough forethought, because obviously, like, nobody really knew what was in there. Jenny, that you know, this was. I don't think that she let any of the rangers in on the whole, this is just a job interview, you know, it's a team building exercise. So I can't believe that, like, nobody was like, hey, why don't we, like, take all this stuff that's just laying around in here and build a pen or shoot, or how about we open the door like 2-3 feet and have them crawl out one by one and we can kill them that way. Like, I this was a non-problem.
Oh, that's funny. A non-problem.
All right.
Okay. The World Beyond. So this episode was called The Tyger and the Lamb. And it's taken from a poem that I remembered the first line. Everybody knows Tiger, Tiger, burning bright. I couldn't remember who had written it. For some reason, I thought it was Rudyard Kipling, but it actually is William Blake. Way predates Rudyard Kipling. And it was published in 1794.
Wow.
And I can tell you that it probably is not one of my favorite poems, although I did like the way that they employed it in this episode.
I actually wrote down, I did not like the poem.
Oh, how funny.
Yeah.
Okay, so obviously we're not on the same page at all tonight.
I did not even realize that it was not written by Iris. So.
No, so seriously, I've never been a big fan of that poem. I remember reading it in English Lit in high school. Not one of my favorite poems. I actually had to go, and we'll talk about it in Rotting Potpourri. I had to go and, like, look it up and be like, what does this poem mean again? What's the purpose of this poem? Anyway, yeah. I am going to rate World Beyond a 3.85 tigers with a Y out of 5. So that's funny, because you did a 3.85 for Fear. Yes.
Yep. That is funny.
We did not coordinate this ahead of time.
No, we obviously do not practice. We'll do it live. I actually rated it slightly higher than you did. 3.95 traumatic flashbacks.
Okay.
Yeah, so not much higher, but I didn't quite have as much to complain about as I did for Fear.
So I guess if we're going to talk about the title, I might as well talk a little bit about the poem. So I was like, what is the point of this? What's the meaning of this poem? I can't remember. And it basically talks about the tiger as this vicious thing to be fearful of, and how could an all-loving God make this fearful thing and make a lamb as well? I know, right? It was
Yeah.
too much. And I liked English lit. But anyway, the reason that I bring it up is in discussing the title of the episode, which was The Tiger and the Lamb, is that I think it refers to Silas and Iris and them relating to each other. He's like the tiger and she's the lamb.
Yeah.
And then also Iris and Hope. Hope is the tiger and Iris is the lamb.
Well, and I also feel like that Silas himself was both, He
Absolutely.
apparently does
Absolutely.
have this, he has some sort of violence in him. I think later we're going to find out that was like if there is such a thing, a justified beating.
I think we all have that degree of violence in us.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I agree. I mean, I think that's a very good take on it, is that also the tiger and the lamb are one and the same in Silas and in all of us.
Yeah.
So our writers, they listed themselves as the Farahanis. I hope I am saying that right. And it actually is Dana and Slavish Farahani. I'm assuming they're husband and wife. They both have done a lot of work on this series called Blood and Treasure, which our writer on Fear has written for that as well.
So, had you ever heard of Blood and Treasure before?
I never had, no.
Okay.
It sounds like it's kind of an archaeology thing. It was listed as starting out in 2019. It does not show an end date, so I don't know if it's still ongoing. I didn't dig super deep because it's not really anything I'm ever going to pursue.
It kind of looks like
a national treasure kind of thing. Yeah. That's totally the vibe that I got from it as well.
But it's got Oded Fair in it, and I love him.
Okay, I'm embarrassed to say I don't know who that is or what he comes from.
So he played Ardeth in The Mummy.
Oh.
He was also Carlos in Resident Evil.
I didn't watch Resident Evil. I know that's a terrible thing for a zombie podcaster to say, but here we are.
So, yeah, I have had a crush on him for a very long time.
Very funny. Okay.
And I like National Treasure, so maybe I'll watch a trailer for this and see if it goes on the list.
Well, there you go. My list keeps getting longer, but I keep getting sidetracked with YouTube videos that feature Lucian Greaves.
And of course, I watch TikTok videos instead of sleep nowadays.
So those are the only two credits that Dana Farahani has, is this episode of World Beyond and Blood and Treasure. Slavish has a couple more. He was responsible for a short called Domino Falling, which actually sounds kind of satanic in the more traditional use of the term. So that sounded kind of interesting to me. And then way back in 1999, see, I'm dating myself. He wrote a science fiction film called Ingenue, which was modeled after Plato's writing The Cave. Which actually Mumford & Sons album that was their huge first hit album took a lot of themes from Plato's The Cave, just in case you're interested.
You are so on it with the obscure facts tonight.
Well, usually you are, so every now and then I have to contribute.
I'm totally off my game tonight. Dang.
It's because of your brain fog.
It is my brain fog.
All right, and then our director, we have seen his name before, and I'm going to slaughter his name as well. It's Sharat Raju. He wrote What We Become, which was a Walking Dead episode. He wrote The Little Prince, which was an awful episode of Fear last season. And then he also wrote, not that I'm editorializing it at all, and then he also wrote Blackjack, which was an episode from season 4 that we really liked. It was a John June-centric episode.
Oh, that's right, because the candy, Blackjack.
Yeah. And his tie, which we have discussed before, is that he wrote for Once Upon a Time, or directed for Once Upon a Time.
Right.
So there's a lot of crossover between Walking Dead and Once Upon a Time. You know, Grace being one of the main, Karen David being one of the main crossovers.
Yeah.
Sharat Raju also has 2 episodes of Law and Order SVU to his credit. just so we don't miss out on that.
NCIS.
Yeah, yep, quite a bit. He had directed quite a bit. I'm not digging super deep into writer and director these days since we've got 2 episodes to podcast, so I think that kind of takes us into our goods, bads, and uglies for World Beyond. If you're ready.
I am ready.
All right. I'll go first this time.
Yeah, you go first this time.
Okay, so my good is probably your good, which was Silas's backstory.
Yes.
So the thing that I will say is that this series is demonstrating that they are very good at backstory, which does give me hope that we are going to get Huck's backstory and that's going to redeem her a little bit for us.
Okay, but does everyone have to have a terrible previous life?
Well, it is the zombie apocalypse.
Yeah, but like these are especially horrible. I mean, it seems like, yeah, I guess everyone did.
Maybe Huck will have a great backstory.
Other than Iris like losing her mom, of course now she finds out, the real story, but
right.
Like, other than that, like her life seemed pretty rosy, Hope it has a terrible story. Felix has a terrible story. Now Silas has a terrible. Don't get me wrong. It makes them, very interesting and complex. So I'm totally on board. But I'm like, dang.
Huck is gonna have such a great backstory. We're gonna be like, how did you fall in with this ragtag group?
I was gonna say, I think damage attracts damage.
All right, so about Silas's backstory, I did want more. Did he just beat someone severely, or did he kill someone?
And who was it, and why?
Right, I want to know the motivation. So, I want to think the best of Silas, so I'm thinking maybe this is someone who bullied him horribly.
Or something like an abusive parent. Because
right.
the tapes that he was listening to were from his grandparents, and he now lives with his uncle.
And he said the thing about not missing his mom.
Yes, he was very quick to be like, no.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, did he kill someone? I think he did. And you know why? Because when he and Elton had the chat about killing walkers, he was really quickly like, no, you can go ahead, and I'm just gonna put this in my backpack. And the other thing is there is a scene in the flashback where it looks like he is choking someone.
Yeah, I think it was the very last scene.
Yes, it was one of the later. Yeah, so it could very well have been the very last scene of his flashback. But yeah, I think he killed somebody. I don't think it was just a bad beating.
But I'm really hoping he killed a bad somebody. Like his dad murdered his mom, and so he beat his dad to death. Or maybe it was somebody abusing him, or
And maybe will we even get his story?
Oh, we have to.
We've got 18 episodes. No, we've got 17 episodes left, sister.
Yeah, I think we have to. I think Iris is going to coax it out of him.
Okay, so that's not part of my good, but I'm going there anyway because you took me there. Are we getting a little bit of romance in the YAZA?
Yeah, we are.
Because I think they're actually setting us up to pair up both of the... I think they're setting both of the kids up as pairs.
Yep.
Yeah.
I agree.
It's going to be ruined when they find out what actually happened to Elton's mom. Ruined.
Oh, I know. Because she doesn't even know. It's not like she's keeping the secret from him specifically.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, what was your good?
My good was Silas's backstory.
Okay.
And, we all kind of speculated in the first episode.
Right. I mean, they had alluded to him doing something bad.
Right. And he was a monster and all this kind of stuff. But not just the backstory, but even like, where Felix is sitting him and his uncle down and being like, so do you want to go to the high school? Be really great if you did. And the uncle's like, no, he really just wants to, work in the shop with me.
There were definitely some moments though where they like flashed on him and his eyes were kind of rolled back in his head and he sort of had a horror Jack Nicholson kind of look. And I was like, he looks a little sociopathic.
Which is funny. Like, I go watch him miss some of the stuff on YouTube because like he is such a fun guy on, and I really want to see his movie.
Oh, I'm not saying he's not a great actor, but he looked a little sociopathic.
So yeah, I loved getting his backstory. I was really hoping for more, but I was it really jolted me to see him like traumatically beating someone, like I thought we would get the just him telling his backstory, but to see the flashbacks of, just how traumatizing that was. Mm-hmm. So it was very jarring. But here, I didn't want more of that. I wanted more of the why.
You just wanted more of an explanation.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Which I do think that we will get. But it's probably a good thing that he just didn't like word vomit like everything out all at once. Because that wouldn't be interesting.
Fair enough.
So what was your bad?
So my bad was, the writers just didn't seem to know where to end the episode. Because there were like 3 really natural endings. And do you remember a couple of seasons ago when a bunch of us were like, oh yeah, that episode of Walking Dead was over. And people were like, no, you missed like the last 30 minutes.
Yes. Because of course, like Walking Dead notoriously... like your DVR cuts it off, but like before the last 2 minutes,
right? And
it was a natural end point to the show, and we both had to go back and rewatch it.
So there were like 3 really natural endpoints to this show.
I agree.
Getting through the bog.
Yep.
They could have ended it there with them behind the tires and the walkers.
Yep.
The wrap up with the kids by the lake.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that could have been a very natural end. They're all walking away and the kids are kind of pairing off and Iris is wrapping Silas's hand, which, by the way, that dressing is going to slide right off. Or, then we had the extra bit with the Civil Republic.
Right.
So I just kind of felt like they just didn't know where to end it, and that made it kind of clunky.
So,
because it was like, wait, it's over. No, it's not. Wait, okay, we're not.
Yeah, I wonder if that was a result of the extra time that they had to edit stuff, because of course this was supposed to come out last April,
right?
It's funny because Hal actually has that on his Instagram. He has the whole coming April 12th. I think it was April 12th. And then like 9 posts later is like coming October 4th. But yeah, I could see that. And when after the tires, I same thing. I was like, okay, end of episode. And of course we cut to black. Like I'm watching it on Sling. And I watched it, basically commercial free. So it
right, and that's the way it is on Amazon too.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming there was a commercial break there. And then by the lake, and I was like, okay, that's the end of the episode. And then it was like Sierra, and I was like, Oh, okay. Is there going to be any more?
Yeah, no, so that was clunky for me.
Agreed.
So what was your bad?
Okay, so my bad was actually my bad. Like, I failed to realize something. It never occurred to me that Hope would have felt responsible for her mother's death. I thought that she was carrying around all this guilt because she shot that pregnant woman. And it never occurred to me that as a child, she would have had the assumption that she was the cause of her mother's death because she was the one that, lunged for the woman.
And when she said, I killed her.
Yeah.
She was talking about the woman, but she was talking about her mom.
Yes. I agree. Because when she said I killed her, I just naturally assumed that she was going to go into, I killed the pregnant woman. And it was really more about mom's dead because of me. And that was just mind-blowing to me because I'm like, how did I not realize that? Because of course, as a child, that's what you would think. And of course, I'm sitting here thinking, of course it would be very traumatic as a child to shoot a pregnant woman, who has just shot your mom, and the sky is falling. But I don't know why that didn't click until it was basically totally explained in this episode. And I was just like, oh my God. And I kind of almost didn't like how Iris reacted to it. She's like, yeah, you should have told me sooner. And it's like, that's some pretty traumatic stuff to be. By the way, the drinking game for this episode is every time I say traumatic. But yeah, so that was it. My bad was not actually bad. It was that I didn't realize something. So my bad.
I didn't process it that way either. So although that was not my bad, I'm right there with you.
So what was your ugly?
Okay, so my ugly actually was the whole CRM scene. I really thought that that was the best part of this episode.
Huh.
I loved it. I totally knew that she was going to sell him down the river.
Oh, of course.
And at first I was like, why did she turn everything on? What was that? Was she trying to block noise because they were going to have some kind of private conversation that she didn't want people to... No, she was turning everything on and stacking up the bullets to tell him, look at everything you have because of what we've done.
Right.
But the thing that I loved the most was that she comforts herself and drowns her own guilt by surrounding herself with all of that technology and all of those trappings of civilization.
Right. I actually wrote down Kubelik isn't a total sociopath.
She's kind of one, but not totally.
But she cried. She had guilt over what was done, whether it was selling him down the river or, murdering an entire town of people. And I also kind of thought that maybe she turned all that stuff on because she can't stand the quiet.
Ooh,
maybe she hears those people's screams in her head.
Good one.
But yeah, I like the idea that it's comforting to her that, I'm doing this so that, 200,000 people can have, refrigerated food.
Sorry, I just had to pick up Mouse.
Oh.
She's joining us for the last little bit of the podcast.
So my ugly actually related to that scene also. I don't understand how our community, and I keep forgetting the name of it.
Civic Republic.
No. The one that they killed.
It was like campus community or something
colony.
like that.
Yeah, something like
campus colony. Yeah. And I think I said Civil Republic earlier, but it's Civic Republic.
how were they threatening? How were they a threat to the Civic Republic?
Well, and then didn't she say, well, they were going to become a threat?
Yes. Like, how? Were they developing nuclear weapons? Like,
right?
were they upstream polluting your drinking water? What's going on? Like, I don't understand how.
Right. I mean, they
going to become a
seemed
threat.
pretty like Mayberry.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, definitely. So I need some elaboration on that at some point. Because we murdered thousands of people because they might become a threat in the future, which, you know, now when I say that out loud, like, that happens all the time.
Right.
So, but I'm going to need some elaboration on that, you know, before I can move on. So we better get some resolution on that one.
Well, and I think that takes us into our writing potpourri for this episode.
Mm-hmm.
So I will say I liked very much that they started with Silas and that birthday tape, but how on earth does he still have a tape? And is it a tape? It looked like it was actually a Walkman.
Like a Discman?
No, it looked like it was actually a Walkman with like a tape.
Okay, yeah. So he has a tape.
Yeah. I don't know. I just was like, I'm having a tough time with that. I'm having a tough time with that he would have that for so long. I'm just having a tough time with the technology there.
Well, okay, so it was his 6th birthday that they talked
So
about.
we're going to assume that he's somewhere around 15 or 16 now.
Right.
Because we're 10 years into the ZA.
Right.
So we're going to assume that he's somewhere around 16 or 17 now.
And, you know, there was the scene when he was walking in the hall of the school listening to the tape.
Right.
And the tape actually kind of stopped. You heard it kind of wobble and stop.
And that's the reason that I thought it was a tape, an actual tape, rather than... like.
Well, and they said this is your 6th birthday tape.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I really don't think Grandma and Grandpa knew how to burn a disc.
How to burn a disc, yeah.
Yeah. How to record an MP3. So I'm totally with you there. Someone having grown, I grew up with tapes. I'm just old enough where I had tapes. Those things do wear out, like, and your Discman will eat them. You need a number 2 pencil constantly, to rewind them,
right,
or wind the stuff back up. But yeah, I'm kind of in agreement with you there, other than the fact that, you know, I can see him still having it, and only if he didn't listen to it that often, you know.
I think he listens to it constantly, and apparently it's got, you know, like some hardcore metal on the other side of the tape.
Oh man.
All right, funny. When we flashed forward to the bog, I was like, I hope none of these kids has asthma.
You know, I complained about it last episode, where I'm just like, how are they breathing? So I actually wound up going to Central Washington a lot this year for my parents. And of course during COVID, but Central Washington was burning down. There were wildfires on all 3 sides of Central Washington. So there were days where you could not see more than about a mile. Passes were shut down because of the visibility. You couldn't go outside and breathe. I am a severe asthmatic. And one of my friends who actually is going to college there, she's a severe asthmatic, and she actually was spending a lot of her days in the science lab because of it had such good air filters in it. But she's like, it still smelled like smoke because, of course, everyone comes into the lab and your hair and your clothes and everything is just saturated with smoke. And I'm just like, I'm watching these kids go through this tire fire, and I'm like, no.
Okay, and they all looked so clean and bright, and Hope's makeup was amazing by the time they made it to the lake.
No one was sweaty. Yeah. And, like, you know, kids sweat. People sweat. Like, no one had a bead of sweat on their forehead. No one had, you know, any ash that, you know, had gotten stuck to their cheek. Nothing. Yeah.
Yeah. I will say the melted walker with the gas mask, very cool. Again, I think that they definitely spent way more on their walkers than Fear the Walking Dead did this episode. The, like, overall kind of melted, nasty, janky walkers, I liked. I thought they did a good job.
So interestingly about that walker, if you paid close attention, that walker kind of popped out of the smoke and, you know, kind of accosted Silas. The walker was wearing a plaid shirt, and whoever Silas was beating was wearing a plaid shirt. And that's where our flashback started, is that walker popped out at him in that plaid shirt. And the first flash we see is him beating somebody in a plaid shirt. So I was like, wow.
Which brings me to my next point. I am over the weapons. The giant wrench is dorky.
Yep.
The thing with the dinosaur tooth on the end, I am completely over that.
Yeah, me too.
That is just dumb.
I literally wrote down, and Iris's weapon is really impractical. I can't imagine that that's at all sharp, and it is obviously not long enough.
And how on earth did she anchor it to the weapon that they have?
It's tied like they're cavemen. Like somebody took out their shoestring or something and just tied it around a bunch of times.
Look, all it's going to take is one good skull over a mushy brain, and there we are.
Yeah. Well, and it's not long enough because she has to get in close enough that walker fell on her.
Right.
Well, the Siamese twin of the walker that she killed fell on her. Which I thought was actually really cool that those walkers got stuck together. They, like, melted together.
I'm telling you, they had a much better walker budget.
The hands coming out, like, that was just creepy. Yeah.
So, Hope in the place where the siren was, I wrote down, flashlight! Batteries!
It could have been one of those ones that you shake.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Okay, yeah. I was just impressed with her mechanic skills. I think in order for it to be believable that she took apart a siren and
then she's like, I took it apart and I'm not quite sure what to do with it. Which I thought was really funny. Sorry, the dogs are being ridiculous.
Are they fighting over the peanut butter filled Kongs?
No, they're just being ridiculous.
So I do have to give a shout out to Elton. I have to apologize because I thought his little Ron Popeil pocket fisherman thingy was stupid last episode. I didn't say it, but I thought it was a dumb thing to bring along. And
I did too.
Then seeing him fishing, I'm like, that kid's brilliant.
But did we actually see him catch anything?
No.
All right. So I reserve judgment.
Yeah. But well, for one, I'm just super impressed that, like, he found one of those or had one of those after all of these years and it still works.
Right? Yeah, because, I mean, so we're assuming the zombie apocalypse happened around 2010. We're assuming that this actually is set in 2020, those poor souls. And how long has it been since you and I have seen a Ronco pocket fisherman? And we're way older than these kids. Yeah,
early 90s. But then again, he's got corduroy that he claims is from the 90s. Which is not. So, like, his parents must have raided a thrift store at some point in the zombie apocalypse because...
Oh my god, that's hilarious.
But, like, all props to him. Like, he's not going to be a big hunter. It's not like he's going to set traps and eat squirrels or whatever. I'm okay. Fish, awesome. Good for you, buddy. But he kind of lost points for not being familiar with a common known.
Oh, I know. I was like, really? He didn't know the expression haul ass? Come on.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. So the only way that I can explain that away is these kids have like really no TV, no radio, no social media, no.
But they were born before the zombie apocalypse. They were, because we saw Iris and Hope as young kids, but still, they were born, they were cognitively aware beings, they were watching TV, they were listening to music.
Maybe his parents are nerds and he was very sheltered.
You know, so looking at him, I could agree with that.
Yeah.
I'm totally stereotyping.
So I was kind of incredulous when he's like, we need to be specific. What does that mean?
Right. Yeah, no, I agree. I thought that was a terrible piece of writing. I did like, and I can't remember who it was. I think it was Iris who says it, but she says our mistakes shouldn't follow us.
Hope said that in the treehouse last episode.
Oh,
and
good on you for remembering that and putting that together.
Yeah, so Silas actually talked about it this episode. Because he was like, well, she did that walker that was under the treehouse didn't actually wander off.
Right, she let it
off.
Yeah.
And everyone's like, why? And he's like, because your mistakes shouldn't follow you. So, yeah.
Speaking of mistakes following you, though, Huck, like, totally does a 180 on Silas and was like, is that what you're doing out here? Are you trying to get away from the bad things you've done?
Okay.
I'm like, that was really ugly.
Yeah, I literally wrote down, Huck is a B word. But I didn't put B word. Yeah, I was really mad at her for that.
Yeah.
That was just... she was totally fine this episode. She wasn't doing the whole cruel girl act. Like, she was fine from what we saw of this. And then she did that, and I was like, nope. Strike 3.
Oh my God, she's going to be the Lori of the series, or maybe the Andrea of the series.
Mm-hmm.
Which I love both of those actresses and both of those characters, so it's not a commentary on anything other than the fandom.
Well, and like I said, the little thing that I watched with her and the rest of the cast.
You said that you really
She seems
liked
very
her.
lovely.
Yeah.
Yes. And what's funny is she actually makes the comment about being cold inside or something. I'm like, oh, sister.
You're like, oh, she's a member of the welcome to the club.
Right? Welcome to the club. So, the can of Chef Boyardee. Or the cans.
Yeah.
They ate those. They have botulism now, right? Like, they're going to die of botulism in the next episode.
Let's ask Steve. He was planning on having one for dinner before he sat down to podcast, so let's ask him.
Canned food does expire. You know, that was another thing that I didn't like about the movie The Road. I mean, the whole movie was terrible, but like they stumbled upon this like somebody's stockpile of canned food, and they like just totally dug in, and I'm like, no, canned food has an expiration date.
Okay, I know you're gonna say, it figures. I read the book.
Yeah, of course you did.
It was horribly depressing.
And the movie was too.
Oh my God, I couldn't bring myself to watch the movie after reading the book. I'm like, first of all, I don't know why everybody says that I need to read this book, because it's horribly depressing.
Yeah.
But, yeah. Canned food does go bad.
Yeah, and I mean, we are 10 years into the apocalypse, and I'm willing to bet those cans of Chef Boyardee were probably already 2 years old.
Although, you know, I mean, Hope did eat the sliced peaches and she turned out okay.
Yes, but the sliced peaches were a very generic white can that said sliced peaches. They were not branded, so I have a feeling that they have some sort of ability to do canning in their community.
All right. I'm going to barely give you that one.
Well, because I mean, if we're actually going to have branded food like Chef Boyardee in it, like that very generic, like it was almost like the pudding, you know. I think you said that, but like
totally like Carl's pudding.
It was literally just a black and white label on a can, and like a number 10 can. And so I was like, I think they grow and can peaches.
So I am going to tell you that I actually did think for a minute, maybe they were actually going to kill Hope in the bog. And I was like, that would be awfully bold. That would be kind of cool. I'd be okay with that.
Considering, spoiler alert, if you have not watched the most recent episode, which was the quote-unquote season finale of The Walking Dead Prime.
They couldn't kill anybody.
Yeah, no one dies. Like, yeah. I would have been shocked. I would have been saddened because the sisters, that's kind of, they've been hyping that this is their show. But yeah, I would have been like, finally, somebody's got some balls to kill a main character.
Yeah, no, I was almost there. I was like, are they really going to? No, darn.
Okay, and so the bog, my other half just has to point out every single time in every single movie or television show that somebody throws away a perfectly good Zippo.
And where did she come up with that perfectly good Zippo and the lighter fluid?
I was going to say the butane. Yeah, like, where are we getting this? But, like, seriously, like, there's plenty of, like, dead grass. Like, make a little thing and light that and then throw that. Like, stop wasting Zippos. Everyone in every movie ever.
Stop being such a stereotype.
It's kind of like the hero walking away and the explosions behind him and they don't even look back. Oh.
I did like Iris's line when she was kind of giving absolution to Hope over the death of their mom, and she says, "We were just kids and the goddamn sky was falling."
Yes.
That was a good line.
I agree, you know, because I think that Hope has so much guilt about and so much trauma. There we go. About
take a drink.
What happened that night, that it didn't even really occur to her that she was 6 and the world was coming to an end. Yeah, agreed.
The only other thing I have to say, because I already talked about the CRM end scene, is that when Hope and Elton were talking about Elton going and saving his mom's manuscript so that he could finish it, I'm like, oh, they're totally telegraphing that things are going to crash when he finds out about his mom's fate. Yeah,
definitely.
So all in all, not a bad episode.
Not a bad episode.
You know, what did Paul Tassi say? Mostly fine. 3 stars, mostly fine. Would recommend.
That would have been my rating for Fear the Walking Dead. Mostly fine. Emphasis on the mostly.
Yeah.
They mostly come at night. Mostly. You get that reference?
It rings a bell.
Okay. Alien.
Oh.
Yeah.
God, it's been a long time since I've seen that movie.
And somebody's probably going to correct me and go, it wasn't Alien, it was Aliens. With an S. I don't know. I always get them mixed up.
I'm going to throw that one to Steve.
I'm sure Phil will also chime in.
Probably.
Yeah. The only thing that I have to add is stop getting separated. There's like 4 feet of visibility. There is no reason that you guys have to be 15 feet apart.
It's not like you're in a global pandemic or anything.
Right? And you have very healthy lungs, so not anymore.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I got nothing else. I mean,
I don't either.
Yeah, we've talked about the amount of time that it took us to watch both episodes.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, I'm sorry for anybody who's still listening. Trust me, you want to listen to our podcast about Hail Satan way more.
Yeah. We talked 2 hours about a 90-minute movie.
And it was totally worth every moment and then some.
Yeah.
I could have talked for 2 more hours.
I rented it for $2.99 on Amazon, and I am jealous of your friend who was like, I just bought it. I paid the $13 or whatever and just bought it because I knew I was going to watch it more than once.
You could go to thesatanictemple.com and buy it from their merch store and support them.
I didn't realize it was on the merch store.
It is on the merch store. You could buy it as a DVD or either a DVD or a Blu-ray.
I don't have a DVD or Blu-ray player.
Oh my god. Do you have a laptop that has some kind of like tray that holds a round thing?
No.
Oh my god. Alright, I'm a dinosaur. I at least have a drive that I can plug into my Mac.
No.
Oh my goodness. Alright.
I think maybe the Xbox plays DVDs.
Yes, I believe that it does.
Okay. Then I'm like, for me, like owning a DVD player at this point is like owning one of those little TVs that also has the VHS player in it. Or like a pocket fisherman.
I have to be honest, I have a DVD player. I have probably 30 DVDs because I was like, I'm taking this one when I moved out.
I probably have like 200 DVDs, but I just don't watch them.
So, after we lost our house in the house fire, I looked at the then other half and said, we really don't need to buy any DVDs because we can replace them all digitally, we can just buy the license to them.
And then we don't have to have it cluttering up the house.
Yeah, no. So I was like, fine, I'm taking the Marvel movies. Except this one. I didn't like this one.
See, and like the only reason for me at this point to buy DVDs is to buy the commemorative box set of stuff, like all the seasons of Game of Thrones or all the seasons of Walking Dead, or all the Marvel movies, like that, like obscenely priced, commemorative box set that comes with like
the Wolverine claws holding the DVDs. Yeah. Yep.
Only reason to buy DVDs.
I wouldn't know why that exists.
Yeah. Didn't The Walking Dead do one with a really cool piece of merch?
I think they did it with like the walker with the that had kind of grown into the tree.
Okay.
I want to say that was, I don't know, I haven't bought any of them because they're still on Netflix, and eventually I'll just have to buy them all digitally when they go off of Netflix. So
it's just so much more convenient to have them digitally too.
I think
I don't have to like get up, walk over, find it, pop it in the DVD player. I can literally just speak to my remote now and tell it to go find that show.
Oh my god, that is so funny.
And like I said, I'm getting a robot vacuum cleaner. And I'm naming her Rosie.
I was going to ask you if she's gotten here yet.
Thursday.
Ah.
Thursday. I did a major sweep vacuum of the house today, in sort of preparation, because I'm like, I don't want like its first pass it to like conk out like 3/4 of the way through one room, because there's so much dog hair choking it that it's got to go back and I don't want like a full bag on day one. So I was like, okay, move the furniture, vacuum under the furniture, all that stuff. But yeah, I bought the Uber one. I bought the S9.
Always got to show up your big sister.
Yeah, well, Amazon Prime special wouldn't ship to me. So I'm like, well, fine. Upsell me then. And then you reminded me I need to buy a ton of extra bags.
Yes, you do. Yeah.
Yeah. So I did that.
Which reminds me, I need to change the garbage bag upstairs because Abira killed a mouse.
Ah, yes. You had a little present under your bed. How did you find it under your bed?
Well, so I heard, so for people who are this far along with us now, thank you for listening. But I've been complaining that my very elderly cat is not dealing with my mice, and I definitely do have mice in my little cabin. But she's like 15, so I have to cut her some slack. So I'm like hearing this kind of scratching and scrabbling, and I'm like, where the heck is that coming from? Ah! And I looked under the bed, and there's a little mouse, not scratching and scrabbling, but on its back with its little legs curled up, and I was like, Abira, I'm so proud of you. So
I feel like that was left there as some sort of curse from her.
This is the only one. The only one.
Normally, like, cats are super proud and they come and present it to you. And, like, I think that is a curse in, like, Santeria or something.
Oh,
is to,
my
like,
God,
leave a dead rat under somebody's bed.
Look, 2020 has been enough, okay? I don't need to be cursed.
Oh, how long has that mouse been there?
It was pretty fresh.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I do need to change the garbage bag upstairs. All right. We have talked this to death.
We have. I think it's time to wrap it up because we do several podcasts a week now.
Because we are the weirdos, mister.
We are.
Which I did watch that movie, by the way.
The Craft?
Yes, I did.
Oh, did you watch it finally?
Yeah, it was all right. It wasn't great. It wasn't terrible. I will say, as a former Wiccan, I don't know if you're ever really a former Wiccan. Boy, they lifted some ceremonial ritual language right out of all of the stuff that I have read, used, said, done. Yeah, so that was very interesting. And David Duchovny has been cast in the remake.
He's got to be one of the dads. Or
I know,
dad.
such a bummer, man. David Duchovny's not a dad.
Well, God, all the girls that were in The Craft are moms age.
I know. Oh. Anyway, now we really have beaten it to death because we are the weirdos, mister.
We are. All right. So eventually you will be able to find the Real Housewives of Alaska podcast.
Hopefully within the next 24 hours, as long as the hosting service cooperates.
We do have a Facebook page. That would be cool if you went and liked it and shared it.
Yes. We have a Twitter. My God, but now I have to get on the Facebook page to find out what it is because they gave me this ungodly string of numbers.
Yeah. So, and I couldn't even click on it. So,
I still don't know how that, like...
I searched it in Twitter and I couldn't find it. So,
you search for the Real Housewives of Alaska, you can find it. It comes up that way.
Okay.
Yeah. But it is at the Real...
Yeah,
okay.
it didn't
Okay, that was useful. Okay, it is at the Real 683-90786.
Yeah. So it doesn't even say Housewives of Alaska.
I know, it just says at the Real. I didn't pick it. Twitter picked it.
We're gonna have to remedy that. That we're gonna have to because you can have the at and then you can have your name. So I don't know. We'll sort it out.
Which, by the way, if you don't like the leftist Marnell and Dianne, you probably don't want to listen as much as we'd like you to listen.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Definitely recommend us to your leftist friends.
And to your Satanist friends.
Oh, and you probably have more than you think.
Right.
And
if you're wondering why we keep laughing about Satanism, you at least have to listen to the first episode.
Yeah. Or go watch Hail Satan because it's amazing.
It is amazing.
We gave it 5 stars.
Yes.
Yeah. So, All right. You can find us there. We will be doing the same bat time, same bat channel next week. So, yeah, for like the next 9 more weeks. And then
gotta figure out a way to get 2 hours of my life back.
I know. I'm not even watching A Talking Dead.
I know.
So, yeah. All right, everybody. Have a good week. And don't remember.
Don't remember.
It's the brain fog. I don't remember. Just remember. Take it one dead day
at a time.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.